Well, this time we're going to have a look at dodging and burning. Now, Photoshop does have traditional dodge and burn tools here, and they are quite effective. And our usual way of using them would be firstly to duplicate the background layer and work on a copy. This means that we're working non-destructively and our original image always remains intact. So what we would do, as a general rule of thumb, we always burn shadows and dodge highlights. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but that's the way it is. We try and burn a shadow to recover detail, or sorry, burn a highlight to recover detail. It doesn't work, it goes a mucky grey colour. Basically, if the detail isn't there to begin with, you're not going to get it back. So, if we select the dodge tool, and up here we have our dodge tool controls. The range gives it a drop down box in which we choose highlights, midtones and shadows. We want to dodge the highlights, which should leave midtones and dark areas unaffected. Over here we have our exposure control, which will give us a drop down slider, and we can adjust how much each pass of the brush affects the image. So if we set it at 50%, and we just start to dodge. And if we pick up these, I want to make them slightly more pronounced because the light is catching them, but I want to accentuate that effect. It's quite easily done, like so. Equally so, if we want to burn or set the shadows, 16% exposure, it's up to yourself. You just need to play about with the controls to see what suits you best. If you set this lower, it means that you can, if you're not happy with the effect or it's not strong enough, you just go for it again. So if we, at 16%, dodge this area of the sky and make it a lot more dramatic, we can go over and not really worry too much about the highlight areas because they're not going to be affected. If we want to go darker, we just go over the area a few more times. This will eventually start to burn in the mid-grey areas the more we go over it, as you can see there. Very useful, very powerful tool. The downside being, in order to leave your image intact, you would need to save the background copy with the background, so you always have your original to fall back on should anything go wrong with this one or you don't like the effect. But if you notice down here, our file size has doubled in size because we have duplicated the background layer. Right, so if we now go back to our original image, a different method of dodging and burning is to not duplicate the background layer, but add a new layer. Now as layer 1, you'll notice down here that the document size hasn't increased. Your file size has remained the same. And for this method, we'll rename that Dodge and Burn. And we'll change the blending mode to overlay. and we will fill it with 50% grey. If you get this fill box or dialog box and it doesn't say 50% grey, just click the arrow for the drop down and you can pick from any of these options, but we want to go 50% grey and accept that. Now you'll have noticed if I turn that on and off, there's absolutely no alteration to the image whatsoever, because in overlay mode, mid-grey has no effect on the image. How we dodge and burn in this method, if we pick up our brush and select black as our foreground colour, and we paint with black, it will darken the image. In this case, giving us quite a dramatic looking sky. If you look down here, the file size has increased, and it will do so the more brush strokes you apply to this layer. But generally, dodging and burning will be an isolated retouch, in which case the file size actually increases very little. If we want to dodge an area, we just select white as our foreground colour and the area we want to lighten, like so. That's basically it. A simple way to dodge and burn. Because the file size hasn't increased dramatically, we can save this dodge and burn layer with the background layer. Should we ever wish to, we can come back at a later date. If we decide the sky is too heavy, we select our white and lighten it up again. So there you have it, a non-destructive way of dodging and burning, and hopefully keeping your file size to a manageable size. I hope you try the technique. Some people like it, some don't. If you try it and like it, very well. If you don't, there's always more than one way to use Photoshop, or use a Photoshop technique, or more than one way to gain an effect. That's a very individual thing, and it's down to the individual to find out which method suits them the best.